Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking right side. He wants it. A comeback cut. It is caught by Kelsey. Touchdown! Kansas City. The game is over. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions. How about those Chiefs?
Welcome to the Kingdom Corner here with Dale and Andrew. We are previewing Chargers week coming up here. And so another big division matchup here early on in the season. But we want to remind you once again, right up front, make sure you're sharing this, liking it, subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you're listening to us on. We want to hear from you too. So find us online through this podcast or even on Twitter at Kingdom_Corner. I guess on X now, not Twitter anymore. But
yeah, X, please, a little respect.
My apologies, Elon. My apologies. So on X, right? Find us. We really do want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts. Man, if there's questions you have about some games coming up or whatever it is, we'll do our best to answer those things. But Dale, it's Chargers week.
Chargers week. Has there been a shift? I mean, I feel like we almost hate the Chargers more than we hate the Broncos or the Raiders.
Well, I think it's I don't know if I'd say I'd hate them more, but there's definitely
the games are a little more competitive.
Yes, there's definitely more of a rivalry right now, just because those games have been so close over the years. So Mahomes has been doing really well against the AFC West, but the Chargers are the team, and not just him, but the Chiefs in general,
right.
The team that have been giving them the most trouble over the past few years.
And I want to say that Mahomes has only lost his AFC West games at home.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah, the Raiders have beat him once, and the Chargers have beat him twice. So, I mean, really, this is a trap game, if you will, because Mahomes has only been beat. He's never lost on the road. That's unreal. Unreal.
Very unreal. And we've yet to lose. Let me rephrase that. Mahomes has yet to lose to the Broncos since he started, right? So,
well, I think you can say we because you're in the stadium a lot of the times, screaming your head off. So, I mean, you bring a difference to the game.
Yeah. Well, and the Chargers, they played in that game on Monday night.
Yeah.
And they have a new super fan in the making here that got a lot of publicity. This stay-at-home mom that was screaming her head off. And
did you see? You didn't see, did you?
Did I see what?
She's also a super fan for the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, I did not see that.
So she may be a super fan for all these teams. But
oh, man. Well, that's what my point was. There's a lot of controversy. Is she a plant? Is she just there to try to hype it up? And they had her on the Pat McCaffrey show. And, apparently she's been a Chargers fan now. I'll use that term loosely because I don't know all the details. Apparently, you know more about this than I do.
Well, listen, I'm just keep my ear low to the ground. I just listen to all things. I take them all in. And, I mean, you got to feel bad for the Charger fans. I mean, just as a whole. I mean, just as a football fan, I mean, we've been there. I feel like where every year was our year. Like, okay, here we go. We got the coach. We got the quarterback. We're rolling. And
we had Matt Castle. How could we lose?
How can we lose? But it feels like every year, every time in the standings, even when Pat has been in the league, it feels like the Chargers are the ones who are going to win the Super Bowl. They're the ones picked to finish top of the division. And, oh, my goodness, it's week 7, and look where we have them at in the division. So, I mean, the Chiefs almost can lock up the division tomorrow or Sunday.
Man, well, just about. So,
yeah. I know there's a lot of football.
Yeah, it would definitely put them in a huge lead, though. They're already tied for the league. The Chiefs are for the best record in the entire NFL, and so they're obviously leading their division because of that too.
Yeah,
so it's interesting, and and to your point, I do feel bad for Chargers because they go to their home games. They're not really even home games, because they can't fill the stadium with their own fans. It's mainly opposing fans, and I've often wondered, man, do the Chargers regret leaving San Diego where they actually had a home field advantage? So I mean, for the money, probably not, but for the players' perspective, I would guess that they probably are.
Right.
Yeah, so
I mean, it's not just the Chargers. I think the LA market in general, because I know Stafford has had to use the silent count a couple times in his own stadium, and so which is wild to me that you got to use the silent count because part of that whole thing about the cadence and all that is an advantage. You can call guys offside and stuff like that. So when you use the silent count, it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, well, and the Chargers, they've already had their bye this year already. It wasn't last week, but the week before.
Yeah.
So they had theirs early in the season. Man, like we've talked before, I'd much rather have that by later in the season where maybe you're a little more banged up and you need a little bit more rest. But
Right.
they've already had theirs. So the Chiefs are sitting at 5-1. The Raiders are second in their league at 3-3. Chargers at 2-3, and Denver's bringing up the rear at 1-5 here. So, yeah. Well, let's jump into some of these numbers a little bit here. So the Chiefs' offense is number 4th in the league, averaging 382 yards a game. They're second in passing. They are 11th in rushing, 9th in scoring, averaging 24.5 sacks a game. And so far this year, they've given up 6 sacks as an offense. So
wow.
That's second in the league. So pretty good for that.
Yeah.
Flip side, the Chargers offense, they're number 8th offense in the league. So they still have a pretty high-powered offense. They're number 5 in passing. They're 18th in rushing, though, 7th in scoring, averaging 25.4 points a game. So just barely more than the Chiefs. So less than 1 point difference there. And then they've given up 10 sacks on the year. So they're tied for 5th in that stat. So, but we'll jump into a little bit more later. But anyways, the Chiefs defense here, jump to that side. The defense is number 6 in the league. So they're moving on up there in 9th last week. So they're moved up to 6th. They are 6th in pass defense. They are number 12th in rush defense. They're 2nd in scoring, giving up 14.7 points a game. I mean, you would have told me that at the beginning of the year. I said, this team's going undefeated. I would have told you that if you had told me that's where their stat would have been this far into the season. But then the Chargers defense, they are number 31 in the league. So, defense is 31 in the league. So not too good. They're last in passing. So we played Denver right the previous week, and they were last in rush defense, and the Chargers are last in pass defense. Yeah. So they're giving up 289 passing yards a game.
Okay.
They're number 14th in rush defense. They're 23rd in scoring, so they're giving up 24.8 points a game. And so you look at that difference, that's where their scoring differences right there between their defense and their offense. And we talked before, the Chargers are notorious for winning and losing games by 1 possession. And their scoring differential here is 0.6 points apart between their defense and the offensive average.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that's big.
I thought the Chargers spent a bunch of money on their defense.
Well, they did. They even brought Khalil Mack back. Well, not back, but back to the AFC West. So,
and there's that, man. Did he have 6 sacks in one game, Khalil Mack?
Not this year, but I think in the past he has, yes.
Okay.
So they are tied for 3rd in sacks, their defenses. They have 21 sacks on the year. For reference, the Chiefs have 17 sacks on the year.
And Chris Jones still eight games with a sack.
That's right.
So
the Chargers are the only defense, though, that has 2 guys with 5 or more sacks on the year.
Okay.
So that's something to watch out for right there.
Yeah.
Only team with 2 guys with 5 or more sacks on the year. So
yeah.
And keep in mind, they've also played 1 game less than a lot of teams too already. And they're still the only team with 2 guys with that stat. So that's pretty good.
That's really good.
But one thing I want to point out here, what do you think about the Chiefs' rushing defense?
I think there's some holes.
Stopping the run. Yeah.
I think there's some holes in there. I think the advantage is, even though our offense is not playing very well, we are still playing with a lead. Yes, and so that makes the team one-dimensional. So I think I'm a little nervous if we can't play with a lead. Mm-hmm. What will happen? Because then they can just run it. So we play like one of these teams that has some prolific running backs. I mean, I think we might be in some trouble there. So if like the Raiders jumped on a 10-point lead on us and then just ran Josh Jacobs, what would our defense look like? But I think I trust Spags. Yeah. I mean, I'm on the record in this podcast saying he's the greatest defensive coordinator ever.
You're also on the record saying that we should fire him too. So,
yeah. I mean, it changes.
But this year,
it's fluid. You know. It's fluid. Right. Okay. It's so yeah. I think he would make adjustments. I mean, I think Spags is probably one of the greatest defensive coordinators that makes adjustments in game. I mean, not even like at half. I'm just talking about in game. He can change things, and he's smart. And so it's I wouldn't be too worried, but yeah, I would be a little nervous if they just played keep away from Patrick.
Yeah, for sure. I would too. Just even for reference last week, right?
Right.
The Broncos offense, they averaged just a little over 100 yards a game rushing, and they rushed for about 120 on us last year.
Yeah.
Or not last week.
Right.
And the Chiefs defense here, even though they're number 12 in rushing defense, they're number 24 in yards per rush. They're giving up 4.5 yards per rush attempt.
Right.
That's not good.
No.
So for reference, for those who may not know, you really want to be under 4 yards per rush attempt. So, and if you're under 3, you're elite, and hats off to you. You're probably not going to be there. But if you can average around 3.31 per attempt, that's
right.
where you want to be.
And I was super shocked that the Broncos went away from it so fast. The running, I figured they would have kept running it because they were seeing success. But then once it seemed like once the Broncos got on the other side of the 50, they panicked or whatever, and they would make silly mistakes. And so, yeah, I mean, if I was a coach going against the Chiefs, I think I'd get 3 running backs there and just sub them in and out, and let's just run the ball, because offensive linemen love to run. They hate pass blocking, and so they love to run. And so I think it would kind of reward them. But let's hope not. I mean, the Chargers got the new shiny toy, Kellen Moore, and he wants to prove a point that they can put up points. So I doubt we'll have to really worry about the run. But Eckler is back. I know he was back Monday night, but he wasn't 100%, I don't think. And so he'll be back. He is always dangerous.
Yes,
dangerous weapon for
from the pass or the rush.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. He's a two-way player. So
yeah, absolutely. So here's another interesting stat for you. See if you can guess this a little bit too. So game-winning drives of active players, right? Or we're just going to look at Herbert and Mahomes, really. But so Herbert has 14 game-winning drives in his career.
Wow.
So, and I think if I remember correctly, Mahomes has played 1 season longer. Is that correct?
Yes.
So do you know how many game-winning drives Mahomes has?
It's going to be high because I feel like we play from behind a lot, but just to win the game.
Yeah, just game-winning drive. So
not like
for instance, versus the Jets,
we
went down and we took a knee at the 1, so that would not be a game-winning drive.
So that would not be okay.
You're driving the field and you have to score to win.
All right. I'm going to say, I feel like you're setting me up. So I'm going to say 10.
Yeah. Well, I am setting you up a little bit. It's 15.
Oh, okay. All right. 15. Okay.
Yeah. But, keep in mind, too, the Chiefs, they rarely play from behind. There are some games, right? Especially in the playoffs that they're playing from behind. But typically, they're not playing from behind at all. I mean, even this year, I think the Chiefs, I have to look at the stat again, but I believe they lead the league in the time leading in a game this year. So
wow,
they're they don't play from behind very often. But to your point, if they got to that point where they had to, I would be nervous playing against other teams based on our run defense right now.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I think sometimes he gets down. There's been how many games? I can't count how many games Mahomes has been down 10, and then he just flips a switch, or the offense flips a switch, and they just boat race whoever they're playing. And so you think about the Houston Texans down 24, you think about San Francisco down 10, and they end up winning by double digits in the Super Bowl. And then same with that one game winning drive in the or in the Super Bowl against the Eagles last year would have been game winning drive for the field goal. So to win the game. But they play behind, but then they catch up real quick. And so it's not like the dramatics of walking down and kicking a field goal or scoring a touchdown a lot of times.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you at all there. So what is the matchup to watch in this game?
Yeah, I think our defensive line and Eckler. I know we kind of spoiled it there, but I think that's kind of the matchup to watch. I think for me is to watch Eckler, see how he's doing from coming back, and then to see how our defensive line responds. Not like you mentioned earlier, was that not only does he get a running threat, but he just leaks out of backfield and catches, and he can hurt you bad. And then the other thing I think what we need to watch for, maybe not to watch for, but it seems like that finger was bothering Herbert quite a bit. I mean, he wore a glove over it, and so I know that's different feel and all that, but I think watching Herbert's finger on his non-throwing hand and see how that affects him.
Yeah, I agree. The other thing I'd throw in there too is Herbert versus our defensive back. So we have a great pass. What's that?
I ain't worried about that.
All right. You cannot be. That's fine. I'm not saying you have to be worried. I'm just saying it's a matchup to watch is all I'm saying.
Matchup to watch, yeah.
I'm not saying this is a key to the game. I'm saying it's a matchup to watch.
Okay, matchup to watch.
Know the segment, Dale. Know the segment. No, just kidding here. But yeah, just a matchup to watch. Even though the Chiefs' pass defense is probably their best part, not probably, it is the best part of their defense right now. The Chiefs still need to watch that defensive back versus Herbert because they still have the number 5 passing defense in the league, the Chargers do. And so that's still a matchup to watch. I know they are now missing Mike Williams, right, for the rest of the year. Yeah. But they still have some great receivers and even guys, like Keenan Allen and Palmer and some of these other guys have had big games against the Chiefs in the past. So, and I just think, throw the stats out, right? It's a
divisional game. Yeah.
Right. And so these teams are going to be playing tough and they're going to be playing close. So that's just a matchup you need to watch. So the keys to the game, here's my keys to the game. You can share yours too.
Let's hear it.
Is slow down the pass rush, right? So I shared earlier, there's 2 guys on the Chargers team that have 5 or more sacks already on the season in just 5 games that they played. And so that's big. So slow those 2 guys down and then also stop the run. Don't let Eckler beat you, right? So basically match up with Eckler. And if you can stop Eckler from rushing and leaking out, that's a key to the victory right there, stopping him.
Yeah, definitely. The key for me is our wide receivers. So this is going to be my key. This is one of the worst pass defenses on paper. They're all professional athletes, so they're going to play. And like you just mentioned earlier, it's a divisional game. So all these other players, they kind of step up and play hard on their division. But I'm going to say, come on, wide receivers, let's start separating ourselves. And I think we just watch for that. I was listening to the Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce podcast, New Heights. And Travis Kelce had said that, him and the offense, Matt Nagy said, we got to stop talking about it and just do it. We got to stop talking about getting better. We just got to do it. And so I'm really hoping that this offense will blow up this week. And so with a little motivation, I know they hear all the noise about how their defense is the one keeping the games, in which it is. So I think they want to be really good. So I determined the boys are going to be focused, and it's going to be awesome game Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I agree with you. So score predictions here. So the spread here is pretty big for what we thought, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the spread is at 5.5 currently, I believe. And for a division game, and as we've already talked about, the Chargers have beaten the Chiefs twice in the Mahomes era at Arrowhead. So that's big. And so 5.5 points, I think, is a huge, and I think really too big. And Vegas, they get some things right. They picked 10.5 for the Broncos, and the Chiefs beat them by 11. So they're usually pretty spot on. But I don't know. I struggle with the 5.5. So I have Chiefs 27, Chargers 24.
Ooh.
I think
that was the score. That's the score I had, but I'm going to change it. All right. So we're not the same. So I'm going to say 17 Chargers to 24 Chiefs.
All right.
Just because I think you think the Chargers should score more points, but Staley always ends up like boneheaded calls and things like that. And so, Staley is on the hot seat, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is for sure.
Yeah. So 24-17. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be okay if he stayed a few more years. As we talked about before, I wish Nathaniel Hackett would still be pitching the Broncos, right? Give us the Chiefs an easier path. I'm all for it.
The Patriots had the easiest path. Yeah, the Patriots had the easiest path for 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, the Dolphins are the only ones that tripped them up, and they were awful. They just happened to play well against the
Yeah.
Patriots. So, yeah. Yeah. So those are, man, it's going to be a close game either way, I think.
Oh
So
yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how that
Oh
all
yeah.
turns out. So let's jump into some Chiefs news real quick before we jump into
Chiefs
our
news.
standings and stuff. So the big news coming out yesterday is the Chiefs traded for Mecole Hardman. Used to play for the Chiefs. You know, they drafted him, played for the Chiefs all of his career. And then this year in the offseason signed with the Jets. And the Chiefs traded a 6th-round pick for a 7th-round pick for him.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they didn't really give up much. So what are your thoughts on bringing Mecole Hardman back?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not the pick I was hoping when you see Julio Jones go to the Eagles. But we understand the Chiefs don't have that much cap space
Right.
because of their players. And so Mecole Hardman, he knows the offense. He has a relationship with Pat, so I think that's good. Hopefully, he can help some of these wide receivers. He is a veteran. He's been in the league. I think his 5th year, 4th year in the league, and so he's kind of has that presence. He's super fast. He's a playmaker. The Jets were not using him at all, and so he's healthy. He should be ready to go. So it's not necessarily the blockbuster pick we were thinking was going to happen, but
No, not we. You were thinking it was going to happen.
Okay. All right. Sorry. The blockbuster pick I thought was going to happen ended up just being a little flat. But hey, if Mecole Hardman I mean, he had a big catch in the playoffs last year. And so he's used to the spotlight. He's played in these games before. So I think it's a adequate pick, but nothing to write home about.
Right. I think his best year with the Chiefs, he had about 600 yards or somewhere right around there. So nothing fantastic, but, a useful guy nonetheless. And, I never thought the Chiefs were going to be making a big splash for a wide receiver like Julio Jones, even though I would have loved to. Even Marquise Brown, they talk about him a lot from the Cardinals and just some of these guys like that. But I just never thought it was plausible just simply because of the Chiefs cap space.
Yeah.
They've kind of cuffed themselves to it this year, and they've kind of just have these guys and relied so much on that they put all their cap space into the team that they have, not expecting to make any moves because they were expecting this wide receiver room to be a lot more productive than it has been so far. And so I think Mecole Hardman is kind of, I don't necessarily love it, but I don't necessarily hate it either. If I had to pick one side or the other, I'm more for it than against it. But just a guy who knows the system already, so that helps a lot. A guy who knows how Mahomes likes to roam around and create space and create some more time. And so all those things are plus things and things that are going to help him. So hopefully he can help some of these younger guys even learn the Chief system a little bit more and go from there. But yeah, nothing necessarily that I would make a big note of, but maybe something that can at least help bring a little bit more stability to the room, just more depth, especially with Justin Watson being out now. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but at least a few weeks. So that creates another roster spot availability anyway. So I think he's just going to fill that role.
There you go. I like it. I mean, we'll see. He'll probably have 5 touchdowns tomorrow or Sunday.
He might.
So
we'll see how quickly they activate him to the roster. But yeah, it's Andy Reid loves the jet sweeps with Mecole Hardman.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they'll help with short yardage, but the other side of it, every team probably knows jet sweep is coming. So get ready.
Yes.
So
there you go.
Yeah, we'll see. But then the other big news is the Frank Clark was playing with the Broncos this year, and they just released him right after their game against the Chiefs. I'm not sure he even played in that game. He, for whatever reason, he just didn't work out there, and so there's been lots of talk where he's going to go. They didn't even do anything with Frank Clark. They basically just said, "Hey, we're going to cover his salary just to get him out of here," and so no one has to cover his salary wherever he goes with. So apparently, there's no teams interested in a trade for him even, and that's why they just straight out released him rather than trying to trade him. But that gives Frank Clark the ability to sign with whoever he wants if he can sign anywhere. And so the news for this is he's a guy who knows the Chiefs system, and he's supposedly has an appointment with the Chiefs tomorrow on Friday for a physical for the Chiefs. And so that points to signs that the Chiefs are interested, or at least very highly interested in bringing him back if they're taking him through a physical.
Yeah. Well, good, I guess.
I can tell you're so excited about this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, what is Frank going to do? I mean, I think that takes a roster spot from some of these young kids. that are learning and growing and that aren't old and slow and don't do anything during the regular season. So,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
and as a reminder, we have Charles and Minnie who come back this week too.
Right. So, I mean, I guess you want Frank in the building. I mean, depth is always good. I'll always say that. If we can have depth and he'll be fine on the practice squad until we need him.
Well, I'll say, would you put him on the practice squad?
Yeah.
Would you be okay with that at least?
I would be okay with that. Like
and bring him back for like the playoffs.
I mean, playoff Frank. Let's go. Shark in the water. Let's keep him fresh.
That's right.
I'm not saying he doesn't do anything. I'm just saying, like, during the regular season, you're like, oh man, we need to stop. Come on, Frank. Oh, yeah. Frank's just standing outside playing patty cake with the other tackle over there. So anyway, that's probably a little harsh. I mean, I know Frank could beat me up and all that. But I respect Frank, but yeah, I just don't, again, it's kind of like the Mecole Hardman thing where you just don't get excited about Frank Clark. I know there'll be some fans that don't know what's football and they'll be excited about Frank Clark coming back because they remember Frank making plays in the playoffs, not in the regular season, which is what we got to win first before we get to the playoffs.
All right. Well, here's my question for Frank Clark for you then. Are they bringing Frank Clark back? Because all signs point that they are.
Yeah.
Are they bringing him back because of what he can do on the field or more so what he can do off the field? You know, specifically, we know that Chris Jones has been a loud voice for the Chiefs to bring him back. So are they bringing him back for maybe his leadership in the locker room or maybe to try to appease Chris Jones a little bit to try to, you know, get that long-term contract built out with him or something?
Yeah. So I do think, I know last year Frank really took George Kalafis under his wing and was really working with him after practices and things like that. So I'm sure Frank's a great locker room guy. And so, yeah, I think it'd be more like continue working with the younger players, continue pushing younger players. And I think competition, right, breeds excellence. And so we want the most competition in the room. And so Frank can be like, if he starts playing hard and like, hey, I want to get a spot, well, that's going to make everyone else nervous about like, oh, he's going to take my spot. I better step up my game. And so I always think like, you know, competition breeds excellence. And so let's compete and see best person out there should be playing.
All right. Well, good analysis. I like it.
All right. There you go.
Well, here's our player comparison for this week. All right. 2 defensive backs. All right. Got player A and player B here. So, so player A has 20 tackles. Player B has 22 tackles. Passes defensed, they each have 1. So about the same right there. Forced fumbles, player A has 0. Player B has 1. Fumble recoveries, player A has 2, player B has 1. Player A has been targeted 6 times, and he has allowed 6 catches on him and has allowed 55 catches from those. Player B, 5 catches for 72 yards. And so player A has a 63% completion percentage against him. Player B has a 75 completion percentage against him. And PFF grades for those who want to take those into considerations is just a company that grades players based on their whole performance. And so PFF grade for player A is 65.2.
65.
And player B has a PFF rating of 74.3. So between player A and player B, who would you take between those two?
Well, I mean, we can't dance around it, can we? We can't dance around who.
Might as well not.
We're going to take the guy on the right there. So player B with 22 tackles, 1 pass defense. So, I mean, just seems like a dog, right? I mean, he's targeted quite a bit, and I'm going to say player B is no. I think you're trying to trick me again. And so I'm going to say player A is Snead and player B is whoever the cornerback is.
Well, I'll tell you this. They're both safeties. And remember, each team
they're both safeties.
Well, a safety is a defensive back.
Okay. So
they're both safeties.
Player A is.
But keep in mind, both teams have 2 safeties that start. So
yeah. Well, player A is Reed, and then player B is Walker.
Incorrect. So player
Cook?
A is Brian Cook.
Yeah.
Player B is I hope I don't butcher his name, but Alohi Gilman.
Okay.
So, and the Chargers' other safety is Derwin James.
Derwin
So,
James. I knew
yeah.
that's what
I
I
think
meant.
that's who you're thinking of, but yeah.
What did I say?
So, you said Walker or something. I wasn't sure who you're referring to.
That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows?
I don't know, man. I'm getting older and I can't remember things like I used to.
All right. Well, I'll let it slide this time. So, so you chose
I got it wrong either way.
So you chose player B, but you thought player A was the Chiefs guy. Yeah. As far as stats go, I mean, player B looks like he would be the guy I'd take too.
Yeah.
The other side that's not on here is Brian Cook does a lot more rush defense though than the Chargers do. The Chiefs rely on their safeties a lot for run support, and Brian Cook put his head in there a lot. So yeah, all for it. All right.
But that one more. I mean, that's a big key, right, for the game Sunday is the four defensive linemen getting pressure on Herbert. Right, that's going to help because of the weapons they have. We need the four to get pressure on Herbert, and so the Dallas Cowboys were able to do it. We need to be able to do it if we want to be a championship team.
Yeah,
we need to get four. So I forgot to say that, but that is, I think, crucial to watching this game is to see if we can get pressure on Herbert without blitzing all our guys, because they do have such great dynamic weapons on the outside. And Herbert, if he has time, is going to pick us apart. So,
yeah, absolutely. And that's something we talked about the last few weeks too, is we want to see the Chiefs getting more pressure without blitzing. When they blitz, they get pressure almost every time. But so their blitzing packages are very effective when they do. But you want to be able to see some of those guys in coverage and not just blitzing the whole time. So
right. So moving to the next segment, which is crazy. We have segments anyway.
We're a professional studio here, right? Professional podcast. So
here in my kitchen,
we got segments.
So we are doing the power rankings. Who are your power rankings for this week as you look at the AFC, because that's all that matters, because the NFC is weak.
Well, other than maybe two teams, but yes.
Well, when has the NFC team won the Super Bowl last? I mean, maybe the Buccaneers and the Rams. And never mind. But who in the AFC is the power rankings? Because the Chiefs right now still have the number one seed, even though they're tied with the Dolphins.
Yeah. Well, this is my power rankings. So there's been a little bit of movement, but not too much. I think the top five in the AFC are pretty steady at this point. I mean, obviously they could change in the coming weeks, but I don't see any other team that can overtake any of these teams right now. So we'll go from 5-1 this week. So
all right,
number 5 team, the Buffalo Bills still, they're in there hanging on kind of by a thread. They look, they have some weapons. Stephon Diggs, great weapon for all them, but man, he can't be the only one. So a lot of questions with them, but then we got the Ravens. They got a great defense. Lamar's healthy, so they're looking like a team that is ready to play. So watch out for them. They played a lot of close games, still haven't really blown anybody out, but they're still winning, and team to watch out for there. Number 3, moving up in the polls here, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right?
So man, their offense is starting to click. They're starting to pull away and win by some double-digit wins here. And so they're moving on up. I don't think they're quite to some of these other guys yet, but I mean, the Jags, they've beaten a lot of these other teams already. They beat the Bengals earlier in the year. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they play all those out. But then they also, I'm sure I think, they beat the Bills too. So they're moving on up too. Their offense is looking good, and so at least the number 2, the Dolphins, their offense is elite, best in the league. They're averaging 100 yards more than the next closest team to them.
Have you watched the Dolphin game yet? Have you seen the Dolphins?
Parts of it, not the whole thing. So
now people are comparing them to the greatest show on turf. Do you think they are better than the greatest show on turf?
Man, honestly, they might be. With how they're moving and putting up points and the speed. Man, I need to see it for a full season though, and not just a quarter of the season.
Especially the warmest parts of the month. The warmest parts of the month, right? Or the year, the football year.
Right. Yeah. And their biggest question right now is their defense, because their defense is still giving up a lot of points too. But at least it's the number 1, the Chiefs. They're playing close games, but they're still winning those games, and in a close game, coaching matters, and I think we got one of the best head coaches. So
come on.
Chiefs number 1.
I don't think I'd change a single thing on there.
Yeah. All right. My
Well, I don't know.
three,
I might take the Bills out and put the Bengals in because the Bengals look more complete than the Bills do right now at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I still have questions about Joe Burrow. He looks fine when he's running, but still looks a little. I mean, I know he's doing better and he's improving.
Right. Bengals scare me. Bengals scare me.
If
just
they
for the
continue
record.
to improve, yes, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm not saying that they're not, but they just started so poorly that I got to see some improvement to move them on up. So, all right, bottom three real quick. So, worst to best, I guess, or not best, but third worst.
Yeah.
So worst is still the Broncos. They got a lot of question marks.
Man. Yeah. 1-5.
Yeah, number 15. So the Patriots, they are getting blown out week by week at this point, and it does not look good for Bill Belichick. So
no.
But just because of who he is, they'll probably give him some more chances. But then number 14, the Titans, they losing Ryan Tannehill, which isn't the best quarterback in the league, but still, they're going to struggle. They still have Derrick Henry, but when you're one-dimensional, teams are much more keen to stop you. So that's our bottom three for this week. So agree, disagree, like it?
Oh, yeah, I think those are good. Yeah, those are good picks there for the bottom three.
Well, thanks for joining us in this episode of the Kingdom Corner. This episode is brought to you by Oh Hey Threads, where a portion of every purchase goes to support missions all over the world, one super soft tee at a time. You can find them online at ohheythreads.com. We'll see you next time right here in the Kingdom Corner.